All right, ready, set, go. So first of all, I just want to welcome you all. It's the 16th, joining me on this webinar, and it's called Welcome to the World of Trading. I appreciate you guys spending your time on a Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. It really means a lot to me. Um, I'm going to start off with a couple basics before I get into it, and that is that, first of all, I really hope for you guys that are new and joining us in the trading floor that you toy around with our widgets and stuff. We have a really incredible community over here. We have some pretty incredible deals as far as moving over to the premium side and just chat if whatever you can afford. But it's been an incredible community. We have great people. We're always adding new things, and we have an incredible team, in Titus and Ricky and Monaco and myself, I think, and most importantly the members. I mean, they're so active and so involved, and I appreciate it very much. I'm gonna next pop up the disclaimer here. Hang on a second. Let me pop this. All right, there we go. Thought I could click over to the side and it would work. But so disclaimer, just so you guys know, anything I'm covering, I might mention a couple symbols. I tend to go through things and then wander off a little bit, always trying to make a point. It's not recommendations. It's just giving you experience that I've had and that I want to share with you. Everything, I promise you guys one thing. Whatever I'm covering today, there's a purpose behind it. Sometimes you might be like, where is he going with this? But I've been around, I've seen a lot, and I'll tell you why I'm doing the webinar next. But the disclaimer, I just want you guys to know it's not for solicitation or anything like that. It's just for informational purposes. And I think you guys all know that, but I just want to throw that out there. So, let's move along and jump right into this and get into the question of, why, why am I doing this? Why the webinar? Well, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this 25 years now. I got in the business in 1993, and I have a lot to share. I have a lot of experiences. I have a lot of people I've run across that are incredible people, and the best way I've learned is through my experiences and through the people that I've bumped into and put myself in front of. And I think the last 6 weeks or so have been incredibly challenging, and it's been on my mind over the last couple weeks. I really want to try to find some time to try to share a webinar, go through a few things, everything from psychological things to some technical things, and try to help the trading community as a whole. And I'm not a rocket scientist, but I've been doing this a while, and sometimes I'd rather have wisdom than intelligence any day of the week. I'll tell you that right now. So, a couple things that I do want to cover. I think there's a lot of false expectations of what we do and what trading is really about. It's brought to us by what we see in social media and how easy it is and driving Lambos and this. And I'm obviously not taking a stab at my good friend Monaco, but obviously Lambos and Ferraris or whatever. He's done well over the years. But new traders that are jumping into this, and they just feel like they can just jump into trading right away, and they're going to make tons of money, and it's easy. They can work out of their house, and there's no problem. And I think the expectations are, flat out ridiculous. It really is. I also think that people need to understand the psychology of finding, your setups and your place in this industry. I think it's been a real struggle for folks. I think we jump in and we're like, okay, now what do we do? And I hear about setups, and everybody has a certain setup. What's your A setup? What does that mean? And I think that people really struggle with that. And I want to go through a little bit of, what that takes and finding your place within the industry. There's so many different, opportunities out there and different setups and different things to focus on. And not getting bombarded with too much and finding something that works for you. And believe me, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in detail. There is something that's specific for you. You just have to find it. The art of winning and losing. Can somebody help Stryker there in the other room as far as if he needs to reload the page? Sorry, to see the live broadcast. If somebody would help in the trading floor there, please. Sorry, but the art of winning and losing. Listen, I'm going to go through actually a couple stories of my own, and this is what we do for a living. It breaks my heart when I see people get so upset for taking a loss, especially what. And it doesn't matter the dollar. Let's just call it a loss. It's whatever impacts you as a trader, and they don't remember the whole purpose of what we're doing. It's winning and losing, managing your wins and managing your losing. And we're going to talk more about that. Listen, everybody has a story. I'm going to talk about mine a little bit later. I've not really shared my whole story with you guys, and I do want to share a little bit more in detail. Um, but I also want to spend a minute, a little bit later on why, somebody else's story doesn't, it doesn't might not match with what your story of, and especially with your goals. And I think we make a mistake thinking we want something, and it doesn't really match up, with our story and what our lifestyle is and what finds us personal happiness. And I want to cover that. Some basic fundamentals and technicals and tools that I use, and maybe a couple secrets I want to just show in there for you guys. What your path is and its goals. And I think, we've spent a lot of time on this. I know that, Monaco a few years ago did a whole thing on goals and setting goals and rewarding yourself and stuff like that at a Traders for a Cause conference. So I think it's really, really important. I've always been, goal oriented, and how that breaks down from a yearly to a monthly to a weekly to a daily, however you want to set it. And then also, again, going back to the initial thing, is at the end of this all, I do want you guys to take away what you hear, what you see, and what's really reality in this business. And the one thing I could say is I have been around the block. Am I the best trader out there? No. Do I make the most money? No. Am I successful? I think so. And have I been around a lot? Yeah, I sure have. And I've seen and sat in front of some of the best people that you could ever put your hands on, most wealthy people as well as most successful people in trading. And I think I have a lot to add with that, and I want to share that with you. But there's a difference between what's reality and what you guys are all seeing on social media and other things. So, let's move on to the next slide, and that's going to get a little bit more detail, and it's going to be what to expect. All right. So we're going to dive right into this a little bit, guys. And we're going to start off, I talked about this in another webinar, and I'm going to try to go a little bit faster because I've got a lot to cover. Please let me know if I'm going too fast, but I want to cover a lot of stuff in this webinar and, hopefully keep it under an hour. Guys, this is your job. Okay, that's the first thing I want to talk about. And I've talked about it before. When you strap them in, no matter what time it is, this is your job. This isn't a game. This isn't gambling. This isn't let's go have some fun. We have a lot of fun in our community. We talk a lot. We throw out little jokes and stuff. But believe you me that we are focused and dialed in on our charts. We're dialed in on the scanners. We're dialed in on the news. That's what we're here for. If you want to have fun and just goof around, go to a bar and do it, or go to a local place and have fun. But this is your job. And in saying that, you need to set yourself a schedule. What other job do you have where you don't have a schedule that you work? You set yourself a schedule. And I'm going to come back to this a little bit more in a second. But I want your when you set your schedules and stuff like that, I want it to include certain things. Listen, we've talked about it extensively, guys. Diet and meditation and stepping away from the desk and stretching or whatever it was. I'm telling you right now, that is so important. And talking about your diet. Listen, don't sit there. The one thing that a lot of people don't say, and I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but what do we do when we get nervous? Anybody know? We eat, right? Does anybody realize that? A lot of people, they start munching and stuff like that. It's important, guys. Pay attention to these things. And also, another really important thing is taking time off. Like we work and we got to get back. We had a loss the next day, and yeah, next week I'll take a day off or whatever. Listen, guys, you have to take time off. I'm telling you right now, you will burn yourself out. I've been doing this a long time. I can speak from experience. You have to give yourselves mental breaks. This is a very strenuous job mentally because of how much you have to focus for yourself. Please pay attention to that. So we've gone through the schedule, what works for you guys. I want to talk a little bit about adaptation for a second. And this is real simple. What I've noticed is, and I think newer people notice it right away, and us, people have been around a little longer, we kind of forget that we've already adapted to this, is you always have to understand the times that we're in. It could be something like whether we're in earnings season, low float madness, is a certain sector running, whatever it is. And you have to be able to learn and adapt your schedule. If you're trading a certain trading style, and it's all based on longs and breakouts and stuff like that, is that going to work in a bear market or a market that's heavy right now or doesn't have the confidence to put big money behind it? It's absolutely not. So I want you guys to go into the day and understand, with what I'm going in setup wise, am I in the right mindset of what I want to trade for the market that we're in. And I want you guys to learn to be able to adapt. That's something that you need to expect to start learning yourself. I also want to do something else, and I want to talk about the mental challenge and balancing your highs and lows. Listen, we had an old saying, and it was taught to me a long time ago, and it was, and I know a lot of people have heard it, but it really is act like you've been there, both losses and both gains. This is such a tough business. Is if you don't go into the day understanding that you're going to have a big loss, you're going to have big gains. Okay, but if you sit there and go through these massive highs and massive lows, you're going to give yourself a heart attack. I'm telling you. You got to balance. We're going to talk about sizing a little bit later, how to help with that, because there is a physical attribute to sizing and getting yourself into that situation. But there's a mental challenge, and you have to balance your highs and lows. And I'm telling you right now that you have to get in the mentality where, this is what I do, and you got to act like you've been there. You've taken losses, you've bounced back, you've taken gains. You come back the next day and do the same thing again because it's what is expected with you, with your job. So, we're going to act like you've been there. Another thing is people come in and like, it's almost like they feel like they could bully a name or they get so much conviction, and we call that bias, right? Is that we got to be right. And the fact is if you look at this, is no matter what you think, we're not in control. The market is huge. And you hear all the old traders, everybody says the same thing: trade the tape, trade what you see. But yet, are we really doing that throughout the day? And it's really so obvious. How many times have you guys, gone through a day and you already know you made mental mistakes? You're like, man, I should have stopped out, or the market was so heavy. Why was I buying Nvidia, or whatever the circumstance is? And you go back the next day or that night and you're reviewing your trades, and you're like, oh my God, this broke this level. This was so obvious. It was actually a short trigger. What am I doing? Listen, that's part of this point, is no matter what you think that we're not in control, the market's huge. So what you have to do is you have to trade those right trends and whatever the market's showing you. So trade the tape. And it's really important that you guys do that. And I can't stress it enough. So, I've already talked about being wrong is part of what we do, and really leaving, the ego at the door. I have a little quote, and it's real simple. It's just that anybody who stays egotistical in this business fails. I'm telling you right now. If you have a big ego and you want to trade your ego and always be right or whatever, you are 100% going to fail, because what happens is what do we do when we have our ego starts kicking in? We start adding to losers. We start not reading things right and things like that. So I just want to emphasize to you guys that being wrong is part of what we do. Accept it and move on. The other thing is only you are going to determine the outcome of the big picture. And this is important I say this, because I think that we get influenced a lot by the people around us. Nobody else matters. You're the one pushing the buttons. You're the ones, setting your plan. And there's two steps to this. Every day when you're going in, there should be two steps: finding your plan and setting your plan. Do you guys understand that? And what I mean by that is you have your setups, and we're going to talk more about that. But you find those setups, or they come to you, and then you execute those setups based on your risk reward, what the setup is, and all that kind of stuff. Nobody else impacts that. There's so many guys that won't trade longs and only wait for their short setups, or vice versa. That's fine. But what happens if you start following folks, or because you think they're making so much money because of what you're reading? Listen, nobody else, not myself, not anybody in this room, is going to impact your success. Only you determine your outcome of your success. And I promise you that's the truth. So now we're going to go into a little bit more about finding your setup and your place. Listen, I've talked about this in the room, and I want this first point to really kind of resonate with you guys. We all have our strengths, okay? I promise you guys, if I sat with you for an hour alone, I would figure it out. The problem is we don't look in the mirror. We think we could do something else, and I want to talk more about this at the end, and when it comes to monitoring and stuff like that. But what you need to do is when you're starting off as trading, or now that you're trading, is you need to be honest with yourself and understand what your strength is. And a lot of that sometimes has to do with reading the tape. Some people, could understand, seeing soaking levels or stuffing levels and by volume, using certain tools, understanding Fibonacci's or Hishinakis or how things work against the VWAP and things like that. There's all different types of tools, and you'll have a strength of understanding how things react with those tools that you have. Because a lot of this, is very fundamental and discipline type stuff. And I think what we do is we go out of our comfort zone for whatever reason, back to the last slide saying, not following, or following somebody else's idea and stuff. Like, I get tons of messages from people, God, I took a big loss, listen to somebody, what an idiot I am. And that person ends up working out on their trade. The person that lost money, their trade works out. Of course, it, whipsaws $3 or $4 and everybody loses because they're following each other around. And it's kind of ridiculous. Look, I want you guys to try to take a deep breath and look back in the mirror. If you guys are struggling, if you're having a trouble getting from one point to the next, you guys need to figure out what your strengths are. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. You should always, I want to get to the bottom of this and go over the strengths more, but what I wrote down ahead is, throughout my career, I've always looked at more strategies. And the reason for this is because the market's ever changing. I always get questions about, what was the .com error like, or what was this like, or that like, and it's always the same thing. I always think back on it afterwards, and I'm like, thank God I really opened my mind to being able to trade all these different types of markets and all these different types of setups, and being able to identify certain things. Sometimes you're a little bit more rusty if you're in a huge bull market and you're long, and all of a sudden things slow down, volume kicks down, and you're starting to fade again. Yeah, I mean, you know what? You could be a little bit rusty, but at least and you could identify those type of things. But you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to take losses seeking out new strategies. But no matter what, I always encourage you guys, you have to continue to add to your arsenal. Okay, don't sit there and just think because you know how to do a fade on a double top or whatever, or breakthrough VWAP, you're going to do that the rest of your career. It doesn't work like that. I know there's guys in here that are like me that have been doing this 20 plus years. They'll tell you the same thing. There's little parts of the market that just come and go. And I'll give you a great example. 2 months ago, I think it was, IPOs were ridiculous, okay? That IPO market was kicked back up, and I know a couple of you guys play the IPOs in here, and it was just like shooting darts, just long it, and all of a sudden they came to a screeching halt a few weeks back, and it was like every one of them was like, oh my God, this is another, IPO, watch it get hammered, and even the good ones were getting hammered, right, JT? So I mean, it was just, it was amazing, how fast it switches. But let's say that you got into the business and you just want to play the IPOs. What would happen now? Don't put yourself in a position where you're setting yourself up for failure by only knowing one strategy. Always be learning, always be talking to people. If you're intrigued, see if it fits into one of your strengths. And that goes with the next point, and that's surrounding yourself with the right people. Listen, I can't tell you, we've all taken our hits. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the main key is surround yourself with positive people. I can't tell you, it's, I don't know, I'm not trying to preach to you about, spirituality or anything like that, but there's something called the law of attraction. And believe me, guys, it works, okay? You surround yourself with negative people, they love negativity. You surround yourself with positive people that have a good energy and stuff like that, it's going to rub off on you. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people, especially this business is so hard. If you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, I'm telling you, it's going to be really, really challenging for you in this business. So, another thing is, I want to come to the next step, which brings me back up to the top is, what does it take for your setup to be good for you? Okay, and this is what I think a lot of people are making some mistakes on, is I'm not sure we're really evaluating our setup fully. I think what we look at is let's say we're taking a retrace play, okay, and news pops out, retrace is 60%, we're like, oh, we're all in, and it doesn't work. Are we really going back and looking in this particular case why that retrace play didn't work? What was the news about? Was it a recycled news release? All the different factors that come into it. And that was just an easy example because I do a lot with retrace plays. But I don't think we're evaluating our setups fully. So we'll look at it, and one day it'll work, one day it won't. And I don't know that everybody really understands why it didn't work. They just know it didn't work, and they stopped out, and they were disciplined. Well, if you guys are working on your setups, okay, make sure you're tearing apart your setups to make sure that these things are working for you, and that you would understand why it is a good setup for you and what you understand about it. And I can't get into details about, your setup, or anything like that. But I could tell you, like, I automatically see, you guys will hear me sometimes where I pass on a setup or pass on a retrace, even though it's an exact retrace, because of the action I'm seeing and other things or the news or whatever. Have your tick boxes to make sure that if you're going to go in that trade and put money at risk, that it's ticking off those boxes to be a good setup. And I think that we need to manage our setups better. And that goes back to the mapping it out and monitoring. Listen, I think this is something real important, and I really want this to stick into you guys before I move on to the next slide. I think that a lot of people that think they have good setups are fooling themselves. And I know they are, because I get the emails and they'll be like, oh yeah, killed it on this, and oh yeah, killed it on that, and all of a sudden I'll be like, I got buried, I got crushed, same setup, I don't know what happened. And what happens in something like that is you're just remembering the big gains. You're sitting there and you're saying, oh, this is an arbitrary number, made $1,000 on this, it was a great trade, oh my God, yeah, perfect setup, perfect this. And then you forget about the 3 or 4 times that setup didn't work, and you lost 300, 400, 200, 400. And you're doing the setup, and it's hitting 1 out of 4 times, or 1 out of 5 times, or 1 out of 3. You guys have been there, right? And you're scratching your head at the end of it, and your P&L for the week says minus $200, and you're going, well, how does that happen? I had a sick trade on, Nvidia, and I had a sick trade on Tesla, and how am I still red on the week? And you go back and you start looking at it, and you go, I took a paper cut here, and whatever. We're not really evaluating, our setups for what they are. And I want to make sure that if you're looking at a setup during a specific market time, you're giving it a true evaluation of what that is doing for you. And I really mean that, because I think a lot of your big gains are being offset by these paper cuts, and only you can look in the mirror and be honest with that. So the tricky question is let's move on here for a second. Okay, how long until we're profitable? Right? That's what everybody wants to know. Oh, I'm getting into business, or I'm just barely getting by. I'm kind of green, but how long till I really, hit it? When am I going to do it? I've been doing this. I have guys that have been doing this years, and I have guys that have been doing this a few months, and they all want to know, like, when am I going to, get that big golden, arches or whatever. And listen, everybody's going to be different. This is where I'm going to talk a little bit about sizing, and I think this is kind of important. And it really depends on your goals and how much you push yourself. Just have in mind, like, I think what we do, and I think I'm gonna talk about this in a second regarding realistic expectations. But I think we have expectations that are unrealistic when you're starting off. And I would bet most people that are coming into this business, and especially the ones that are doing it full time and giving up their jobs, are probably being like, I want to make $100,000 a year. That's probably like the default number that everybody goes to. You guys agree with that, right? That's probably that, or more, 120 or whatever it is. And where do you come up with that number? like I don't know about you guys, but when I started out in the business cold calling, I made $200 a week, And yeah, times are different now, but that's what I made when I got into business. So I don't know why people are coming in this, and again, it goes back to social media, is you guys got to set realistic, expectations for yourself. And in setting those realistic expectations, I think that has to do with why some of you guys fail early on, is because you're pushing yourself far past your comfort levels. And I think this is really important because there's not a true answer to this. I know people that are really good traders, and what they do is they're learning so much, and it comes down to an execution and a discipline thing. but the technical sides are all there. And it's just, when are you going to become profitable? Well, when you stop cheating, and when you stop moving your stop orders, and when you stop doing that, that's when you're going to become profitable. Now, you kind of get the technical stuff. You're reading the tapes right. So that's going to depend on you, and when you look in the mirror, and when you decide you want to become disciplined. And there's two scenarios that are going to happen. You're either going to think you're bigger than the market, not be disciplined, and keep making those mistakes, and you're going to run out of money. Or there's going to be something that's drastic that hits you in the rear end, and you say, oh man, I gotta really stop this. Instead of trying to make 100 grand a year, let me at least get profitable and make 50 grand. And next year I'll bump it up to 70 or 80. And I just need to I want to do this. And that's the thing. It's going to be like a little epiphany that hits you. And I think also that when you're figuring that all out, what we need to do is we need to make sure that your size is matching up with your goals. And I think this all has to do under profitability, because what's happening is, and I'm going to give you an example, is, it happens every single day. And we could talk about like say it's a $3 stock, just as an example. And, say somebody's trying to make, $500 a day, which is 10 grand a month, right? And I see him put on these positions of, okay, it's a $3 stock. I should be able to take 4,000 shares of this. I got the buying power. Why not? And the stock goes 20, 30 cents against them. They drop 600 or 800 bucks on it, and they're scratching their head going, well, what just happened? That's because they're not managing their size based on what their goals are. They're, swinging for the fences, and they get all emotional about it. And that's a huge problem, that we have right now. And that's, managing your size. And I'm telling you, you got to make sure this is matching your goals. You got to back it all in. I know Ricky had done a seminar or webinar, quite a while ago, just talking about size and risk and things like that. And it is so very important. There's been times where I've had little bad streaks. I've told you, I think even recently, a month ago, it was I was missing by a nickel on trades, and I was getting crazy. And the first thing I did is I sized down, and if I would trade 10,000 shares, I'd cut it in half, and trade 5,000 shares, whatever it was. I'm cutting this all in half, because, I know right now it's that time. And I know we have to go through this business always managing the day, the week, the month that we're in, because you're going to have big swings up and you're going to have big swings down. And I'll go back to that, later in the thing when I talk to you about a couple stories. But make sure that you're managing your size based on what your goals are. And when it comes to profitability, you're going to determine your profitability. I believe your odds of being profitable right away go down significantly when you're unrealistic about your goals. Does that make sense to you guys? So if you really are at a point, because you're starting off and mentally capable of trading 500 shares, but you're trying to trade 2,000 shares, it's going to hurt your profitability. And I think that's a big thing. And I don't think that you should ever, I don't think you should ever oversize yourself. And when people say, I'm sized in, to me, that should be that you're sized in according to what makes you comfort and comfort levels. And we'll talk a little bit about sizing in a second. So hopefully that makes sense about profitability. I'm not going to give you a, black and white, hey, you should be, if you're not profitable within a year, you stink and go do something else. That's not how this business is. Okay? But I'm telling you right now, with what I'm saying, it will help your profitability. Everybody that's pushing past their limits, that's when you have your mistakes and unprofitability. And if you guys have ever sized down, has anybody ever sized down to a point where they're pushing, and they're not making money, and all of a sudden they do something ridiculous, like, you know what, instead of 1,000 shares, I'm just going to do a few hundred shares until I get green again. And all of a sudden you're hitting on every trade. You're like, boom, boom, boom. You're hitting, and you're going back and you're going, what did I do? I'm taking the same trades. Yeah, but you're not executing the same way. You're being more patient. You're letting your stops actually work and things like that. And you're not oversizing where you see in your mind an unrealized loss of $800 when it really should be 100 or 150 based on your account size. I'm telling you, it's working. So size has to be really good. I want to talk a little bit about communities and tools, guys. Listen, I know I'm jumping around a little bit and I'm going through some stories and so forth, but I want to talk to you about this section a little bit. It has to do with, I've been doing this a long time, and there's a lot of statements I want to make in this slide. It's a lonely business. Okay, I've talked to you guys about surrounding yourself with people with the same values and are positive. That is so important, it's not even funny. And I want you guys to understand something. whenever you see negativity within, whether it's a trading community or a firm you're working at, okay, just avoid it. All right, there's no reason for it because there's a lot of good traders out there. I know who I think is the best trader out there. Okay, for me, and that happens to be Titus. I think he's the best trader I've ever seen. Okay, but that being said, like there's a lot of good traders out there. There really are, and there's guys, trust me, that are making more money than me, and they're making more money than you and everything. But you want to surround yourself with people that have the same energy that you have, that are positive and always, and you're open to criticism, and when they give criticism and it's in a positive way, and listen, you gotta have a little thick skin in this business. You gotta be able to, if you do something silly and you're a good friend that you're trading partners with, in a sense of, IMing, say, hey, look what I did, or I lost, $1,000 on this, and you don't want to tell everybody else, but you want to tell your friend, you need to be open to them saying, hey, that was kind of silly. You told me yesterday you weren't taking longs and you decided to take a long. That's not your setup. You need guys like that in your life. Find people like that in your life, guys, that can help you. Off to the side, you're on Skype with them, and every so often you send them a little message or you PM them through the, like our community has little PMs that you could do, and you message them and say, hey, can I show you something? You need to be able to talk it out because it will help you. The sooner you get it out is the sooner it's going to make you. Sometimes when you talk out mistakes and you talk out loud, it hits you a lot better than when you keep it all inside and say, I'll just figure it out. I won't do the same mistake tomorrow. Well, you bet your ass you will. Until you talk it out and you identify it and you get called out on your mistake, you probably repeat the same mistake, or until you run out of money. So always keep learning with the market. That's something I'd written down. I don't really need to go back over that, but I want you guys also is, I wrote down about learning new strategies, and I kind of covered it, but I want you guys to get in the habit of, not seeking approval. Okay, I don't know what it is about this business, and social media has gotten ridiculous. When I was at firms, I didn't do social media. I never did Twitter and all this stuff. They monitored all that stuff, and I was kind of new to the Twitter world, and it kind of makes me scratch my head sometimes. But I still want to do it because I want to help with the audience, and I'm doing this for a reason. As far as giving back. But you only have yourself to really answer to, guys. It's kind of funny. Like we're looking for, hey, just made $700. I could promise you one thing, okay? And I don't care who you're talking about. The biggest producers, okay? The biggest producers out there, whether they're at a firm, day traders, they don't post jack on social media, okay? And I know there's some pretty good guys that post and show their, big P&Ls and all that kind of stuff. The biggest guys, they don't post anything. You don't ever hear from those guys. You know why? Because they're focused on making money for their families and their lifestyles, period. Simple as that. Do you get guys that are good guys that are in other communities? Absolutely, there's some good guys. I really believe that. There's some really good guys out there in other communities that are doing a good job and teaching setups and stuff like that. But just stop looking for approval. Stop trying to post something because you want somebody to say, hey, you're awesome, you're great, you're the best, I can't believe you find these things, you're the super smartest. Forget about that, guys. You don't need approval. Worry about your own pocket. And then I want to talk about this for a second. And I talked about it, and I'll never feel like it's, what do they say, beating a dead horse or whatever, is it blows my mind. Okay? And I've had some pretty high expenses in my time, and I know some of you guys that have, been with firms and ran a desk or something like that, how high the expenses can get. And, it blows my mind when people want to spend $100 on a scanning software, or $200 on a news or whatever. Listen, if you really are serious about doing this for full time, stop being a baby, okay? I mean, you guys have to. I'm telling you, you have to spend money to do this. And it's okay to surround yourself with other people that share it. If you're completely broke and you're doing a $2,000 E-Trade account or whatever, I get it. But most of the people that we talk to are at PDT levels or higher, and doesn't mean that I wouldn't have the same conversation with somebody smaller. But if you really are serious about getting in this business, you have to invest. Think about if you were to start any type of business, a retail store tomorrow. You don't think you'd put 50 grand into it or whatever and commit on a 3-year lease to a place? Why as traders do we feel like we can just pull up to the desk, turn our computers on, sign into DAS, and be like, all right, let's see what's on the high-low watch list today, or whatever that list is called, the high-low list or hit list. Come on, really? That's how you guys are going to trade? You don't need a software or whatever and try to learn like little edges. You're never going to make it, guys, that way. You have to spend some money on and invest in yourself. You know, and I'm going to come back to my story, but when I told my wife years back that, I was making a big move from a firm, I was doing really well, making a lot of money there, and I was stepping away to do, what I want to do on the day trading side. And it was simple. I had the capital, and I said to her, there's nobody in the world I want to invest or trust in but myself. And you guys have to have that same attitude. Like, how could you want to invest in other things and other opportunities, but you won't invest in your own business? I can't tell you this enough, and it's really, really important, and that's why I'm spending a little extra time on it. But I will leave it at that as far as the tools. Listen, you got to have a charting system, without doubt. I use eSignal, I use DAS. I know other people use Thinkorswim. I don't have any problems with built-in platforms and stuff. I don't think they're the greatest. I've used Thinkorswim. I know what E-Trade's about. I have E-Trade accounts. I have Ameritrade accounts. I have those. I just don't use them. I've used them in the past. But you have to have proper charting. You have to have proper scanning. Part of that proper scanning is being in a room. Listen, I don't care what room you're in. Make sure there's a good news guy in there. We're blessed to have, T98 in our room in the premium side. I mean, almost once a day we get an alert from him that pays for the premium room and some. And I call out the things as they're hitting TTN or Newswatch or whatever systems I'm using. And other people are calling them out. We have guys in there all the time posting whether, it's a pump or newsletter or whatever. You need to have those scans as well as, other scanners. Like we have the proprietary, software that Titus is. You have no idea how much money Titus has spent on this turbo scan and pre and post scan and the one he was talking to today. It's ridiculous. So scanners are so important. Your platform, make sure it's a good platform, and that you're using, that you understand it. There's a funny thing is, I think there's a lot of really cool things within a platform that I think we're too lazy to kind of poke around and look and see what might help you out. And take some time. If you guys have DAS or Realtik or Sterling, play around with it, guys. It's worth it. You're spending money every month on it. And also news. I'm going to just tell you again. If you guys aren't using a news source, I absolutely think you guys are nuts. I have a friend of mine in the room, and he's been doing this longer than me, I think, actually, over 25 years. And he laughs with me every time we get together because every day he hits, on TTN, makes, money off it. And there's a lot of other guys in there every single day. And it's whatever, we've even got a discount. I don't remember what the discount is, like $175 or 200 versus 250. And it pays for itself fivefold every single day. It's ridiculous. So guys, you have to find, these tools, and you have to pay for them. Trust me, it's important. You guys want to get from point A to point B, invest in yourself, trust in yourself, and make that investment. I really think it's important. Spend the money on your business, guys. You have to do it. So, winning and losing. I want to talk a couple things about this. Part of what we do, we got to learn to understand your stress levels. And I told you I was going to come back to this. And I think this is important. Part of what we do, puts us in a position where, of course, we take mental losses, right? We get a little stressed out about things. But there's always, and I think this is very important. I wish Titus was on with me because he could go back to his story, but I'll give you it in a short form. Titus was telling a story like that. It was when he started and he was making money, but then he was sized up, and he gets to this point where he actually physically feels it in his body, and he was describing it to the room. And I've been there. I know what that feeling's like, and I'll talk about that later. And listen, your body, there is a certain size that you will start to feel physically within yourself. Okay, I promise you guys that. All right, it's a really unique thing. I don't know if you guys have gotten there yet, if you've tried to size up, but even, let's say you trade 100 shares of a stock, okay, and you try trading 200. You might feel it then. Nobody knows that size level. It's what your body can handle. I'm going to tell you guys something. that will change in time. Call it conviction, call it whatever you want. I think the more you hear about this from a lot of people, that some that I really respect, and it's all about screen time. The more you're sitting in front of a screen, the more comfortable you're going to be getting in the volatility of the markets and stuff like that. And I think it's really important. But I want to make sure that you guys are identifying, what your stress levels are when you're taking positions, because that is going to have a major factor in how you trade the names, how you adjust yourself, and stuff like that. And we all know, I don't need to talk about this yet, but we all know, let's say, you're trading a stock today and it's trading at 50 and a half, and it starts coming in the 50 and starts coming in, and your stop was at 50.30 because that was the low of the day. And how many of you guys have said, man, it really should hold the $50 number. That's a big number. Let me bump my stop down to 49.80. Nobody's ever done that? Of course you have, right? So that happen. Those type of things happen all the time, and the reason they happen, which is completely wrong, because you're coming out of your level. You should never move your stops, especially when your stop is when you first have a plan, unless there's a fundamental reason for it. And my point is like the size that we take on sometimes dictates those type of maneuvers. I really believe that, because we're scared to take the loss. We won't admit it. We're not going to tell him. Who wants to tell anybody I'm scared? Oh, I'm scared. I don't want to lose, $300 on this trade. That will suck. I'll be wrong. Also, everybody's going to point and laugh at me. Okay. But the bigger size, like if it's $100 because that was your original what you should risk, it's a little bit different. It's like, all right, business as usual. You guys understand the difference in that? It's true. It's exactly true. Now, I talked about this in the room, and I want to include this in the winning and losing. When you guys are setting ratios, you hear everybody say the same thing. So it's not something I'm super smart at and made up. You guys have to trade with true ratios, okay? If you're doing a 2 or 3 to 1, I always like to look for 3 to 1 trades. But my starter, I always want to see 2 to 1 on. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're buying a stock at 50, okay? And my risk is 49.50, so 50-cent risk. My first exit on my buy at 50 has to be 51. I have to make a point. It's not, I'm risking 50 cents and I'm going to scale out up to the point. That's not 1-to-1 ratio. That's a 1-to-1 ratio or whatever. It's not 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. That is a huge, huge mistake. You guys want a secret? That's a secret. Adjust your ratios accordingly. You guys are taking trades that there's not enough meat on, and you're justifying it because it still looks good. That's not why you take a trade. It looks good. It all has to make sense. The risk reward of what you're putting up, because we went back to we always take losses, right? Well, if you're taking 50-cent losses all the time on this, and you're only making 50 cent on the wins, and even if you're 50-50, what's going to happen? Are you making money? Of course not. Listen, I'm passionate about this because I know the mistakes that are being made. I see the posts. I'm buying at $3, selling for $3.10, but I'm risking $2.80. Okay, so you're risking 20 cents to make 10 cents. Is that what you just said? How does that make sense? And I scaled out, made a nickel. What are you doing? How does that make any sense? Okay, guys, you have to adjust your ratios. So how do you adjust them? I'm going to go through it one more time to be smart with you guys. Whatever you take on in risk, and I just use these numbers as arbitrary numbers. If you buy it at 50 and a half, 50, spot 50, okay, and your out is 50, okay, that's 50 cents. Your first sale on it has to be at least 2 to 1, which means you have to make $1. You need to look at the chart and say, should I be able to make my first sale at 51.50? Now, we're not going to talk about, well, what happens if? Listen, guys, we know about trailing stops. Those are all, things that we do and you work on. And obviously, if the market gets hammered, there's always the variables. But when you first are putting on the trade, you need to ask yourself that and be dead honest with it. And I bet you half your guys' trades would stop trading it if you followed that rule. You guys would realize how many stupid trades you're taking that make no sense because your ratios are so far off. And whether they work or don't work, the times that they don't work will offset any of the profits that you ever make, because you're never letting your profits run, which is why you take a trade, because you see 2 to 3 in one and you're losing 1 on the other one. And that's how you make up from the losses when you're 70% or 80% or whatever your percentage is. So the other thing is at the bottom is, and I could be quick at this, is listen, you guys have to stick to your plans. There should be, just the other day I sent somebody a chart, And it had to do with like, I stopped myself off with my initial plan, waited, turned, bounced back in, and made the trade on, and had a really good trade on it. Listen, when you put on your initial trade on a stock, stick to your plan. If your stop was here, it was for a level, it was for a 5-minute 20 break, whatever the breaks were, sell it, cover it, whatever you want to do. You can revisit the trade within the same, candle if you want. The one that I did yesterday, I don't, want to get into details with it, but it happened to do on PDD. Okay, I was in a position on PDD, had a long position on. It came back. I actually sent the thing to one of the guys in the room because I thought it was kind of funny. And I was like, you know what? If it breaks this level, I'm going to stop out half of it. And sure as heck, broke the level, stopped out half the position. I gave my other stop another 30 cents or so. I think it was low of the day. And then I looked back at the chart, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? It's above 5-minute 20, it's above VWAP, it's above the trend line. And I took it right back. And within 1 minute, I took back my position on the size of the position. And sure as hell, it did exactly what I thought it would do. And that's not to say that I was right. It's to tell you guys that it's okay to follow your plan, relook at your plan, and if it makes sense because of the levels that you're looking at, you could put the trade back on. You're allowed. You're allowed to buy and sell. You're allowed to sell your long, see it at another level, let it set up, and trade that exact same stock. Isn't that special? We could actually take a loss and retrade the stock. That's okay, guys. So you're expected to, make and lose, and it's part of what we do. It's really something mental. Sometimes you guys got to get through it with this, but I'm telling you, if you guys want to do this for a living, you got to get in your mind that it's part of what we do is making money and losing money, and what your job is to identify what's going on in the tape and all that kind of stuff. So, moving along, I'm going to go into some things that might be a little bit helpful with you guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about basic fundamental and technical tools. Okay, and I think this is really important. I know I can't believe the time's kind of flying by, but there's a few things I want to talk about, and I'm going to be a little bit lighter on this because this is going to lead into a little segue that Ricky's already done a lot of work on this fundamental stuff. Listen, guys, again, you don't need to be the best reader. You don't need to be an accountant. You need to understand basic fundamentals. When you're looking at stuff, understanding what filings are and what they mean. You need to understand, where to get them, whether it's SEC.gov or, the K's and the Q's, and having in your hotkey, the splits, the halt windows and stuff like that, and understanding, what the capital structure is of the company, the shares outstanding, and what the float is, and maybe, we always look at the float because we always reference FinViz or something else. Realtek has it on their system automatically. But you guys really need to do some homework if you want to do this. And again, I'm going back to what it takes to make money as a trader for a living. And that's understanding them. You don't need to master them. Might not be your strength. I told you, everybody has strengths. Okay, and trust me, I think you talk to any fundamental guy that's good, okay, and they'll tell you the same thing. The technicals always rule in the short term. Okay, you always got to trade the tape. I said, but fundamentals will help you with, conviction and all those type things. And it obviously tells you a lot more. But fundamentals, I think, are really important. I think you guys all should spend some time on learning a little bit about the fundamentals and basic balance sheet stuff and terminology and what, cash flow, monthly expenses, net income. What does all that mean? And I think these are all basic things that I just learned over the years. I never became a master at fundamentals. I was fortunate to be surrounded by some really good people, and still am. And I just know what my where my strengths are and what it is. But I sure as hell, if I needed to and nobody was around, I promise you I could tear through a balance sheet, figure out their cash flow, figure out what their monthly burn rate is. I can know all that stuff. It's not my best strength to look at and be fast with, but I could do all that stuff. So make sure you guys could read that. I think we don't spend enough time on understanding some of the fundamental stuff, and it will help you. And I'll give you, some people are trying to swing, long, some, stuff that have, shelves on it and effective shelves and warrants, and all that stuff is out there. I mean, Ricky showed you on that BAM SEC how easy that is to look for stuff like that. Make sure you guys are doing that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about technical tools, and I'm going to give you guys a few secrets. All right, as we're getting closer to the end, I still have a few pages, but I'll go. I'm just going to keep going, guys. How's that? So some of the things I want to talk about is you guys have to find the things that work for you guys. There's technical tools that work, and I'm going to tell you right now, like moving averages, VWAPs, volume profiles, fibs, Hishinakis, all these different things. Whatever works for you guys, implement it. There's a lot of tools out there. But I'm going to go over a couple things of what I think are pretty important and what I use. And I'm going to go through it a little bit fast just because of time wise. But listen, first of all, I'm going to give you a big secret, okay? This is one of my number one secrets. If you guys are trading, I don't know how many people do this or not. I know Ricky does it. But when you put on a position, I know people that won't even look at a 1 minute after they put on a position. Think I'm kidding? It will drive you insane. If you have the conviction of something breaking down or breaking out or whatever, and you're going to let a stop area stop you out or whatever, or you start getting in your mind of forming some sort of bias that this is heavy or whatever, the secret is when you guys are putting on a position, just try it. Try it for a week. Put it on a 5 minute and see what happens. Watch the magic happen. And I'm telling you, you still have your levels and stuff like that, but you have no idea how much that's going to save you guys from getting a bias in the short term. Like what happens is you'll see a stock, and it could be Nvidia, it could be anything, and it'll be whipping, boom, 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 up and down 50 cents. You'll be like, oh my God, look at this. And you start getting dizzy. It's still the same 5 minute candle, by the way, but there's 50, 60 cent swings in it, and you're like, oh man, it's having a tough time getting through that level. It is? I mean, okay, you say so, but now all of a sudden your bias is, let me raise my stop and do this and this. How many times have you guys gotten stopped out of a situation at even because you were scared to take a loss because you thought it might be topping out, only for it to do exactly what you said it was going to do and never hit your stop order? Anybody have that happen to them? Yeah, we all have. I'm telling you guys, you have to, if you guys want a secret, there's a secret. Up your time frame once you put the position on 5 minute, 20 minute, whatever works for you. Okay, guys, that happens. I see people saying it really happens all the time when you put yourself in a position where you have a 1 minute on. Stick to your plan and allow your plan to work. It doesn't always happen right away. How many times have we been sitting here? T98 puts out news, and I say it in the room. Let the news cycle. Let it sit. What was it on pizza yesterday, right? That we took the long? It took a few minutes. You guys don't remember? I think it was 5, 6, 7 1 minute candles, right? We just sat there, and I'm going, okay, this is looking good to me. I know it's going to catch on. And sure as hell, woof, that thing ripped. It was beautiful. And, if I was sitting at a 1 minute candle, you don't think I might have gone, let me just get out. I could always buy it back, whatever. Did you see when it ripped what happened? It ripped a buck in like one candle. You would have never gotten back in that trade. How silly would you have felt? So that's another one. Listen, I don't want to spend a lot of time on VWAP. I am going to do a full webinar on VWAP, guys. I can't tell you how much important VWAP is, and I have a lot of reasons, and we joke about it all the time and stuff like that. But listen, if you guys don't want to know, what the average price is of where the volume is all day long and stuff like that based on a VWAP, I don't understand how you can't want to know that, because it tells you everything, and there's a psychology behind that. Okay, let's say you're in a trade, guys. Let's pretend. Okay, you're in a trade and you bought the stock at, let's just say $10, okay? And you think it's going to, got your old mind set up and it goes to 10.50 or whatever is what your plan is and so forth. And all of a sudden the stock starts coming in, and it comes in and comes in and comes in. Next thing you know, it's trading at, 9.60, and you're like, damn it, I haven't been stopped out yet, but oh crap, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, what is everybody's first reaction when it looks like it's not going to get back to 10? Everybody says the same thing, guys. Oh, let me just get out of this thing even. I'd be happy as shit, right? How many people have been there? They're like, I just want to get out of this damn thing. Oh my God, why did I do this? I knew it was broken, blah, blah, blah. I just want to be out of this thing. So, listen, you have to, that same mentality that I'm talking about is exactly how reactions happen at the VWAP. It's the same thing. If it's above VWAP and it's pressing, what happens when it comes down? When the volume's there and the demand is there, people are looking for opportunity there. That's the average price. Everybody owns it. It gets some support level, right? That's where the average buying's been coming in. So nobody's underwater yet, right? So they're all okay as long as it doesn't break that. So people look and they buy and then it bounces off VWAP. But if it's below VWAP and it pushes into it, that's that $10 owner going, get me out of this damn thing. I could get out even or with a nickel loss or dime loss, I'm happy. VWAP is so important, guys. And I'll talk more about it again. Listen, I'm going to tell you this, and I learned this so early in my career looking at stuff and when I used to, work with some of the analysts and stuff. You guys, it blows my mind how people don't put so much emphasis into a daily. Like I'm telling you, I know people here are doing it now because we talk about it so much. But there's people that still don't look at dailies really. Like, oh, let me just see what's on the scanner today. Really? And when that hits the scanner, you don't look at a daily to see how it reacted in the past, see if there's levels that it needs to go through, see if it's below the 50, 200 day, all these different, that doesn't matter to you? You want a secret? Look at the daily. Always have it. And the last thing I'm going to talk to you about, and I'm going to, I know I'm talked a lot so far, guys, sorry, is it really makes me laugh sometimes that people don't use the line drawings. It really kind of boggles my mind. Listen, I know that we've been working on a lot more in the room, and I've asked you guys to draw the lines, and I do that as an exercise. You guys have to draw lines on your things. Draw lines from what I like to do. I don't know that there's a little secret you want to call it. It's pretty fundamental stuff, but put your chart on a 5-minute. Go back the last. It'll show. Most charts will show 2-3 days or whatever. If you put it on a 5-minute, and look back and look at some key levels. And when you see a level, you see me do it in the morning when I do some of my watch lists. And when you see it holding a level for 2 or 3 days, guess what that's called? Oh, that's called a support level, right? Guys, draw lines. Draw a line. You see that stock come down there that day? All right, I'm looking at whatever at this price. I set an alarm, let it go off. Use your alarms too, guys. So that's some basic fundamental and technical things. Listen, I kind of covered a little bit of this, but I just want to come back to it and what what you read and what to expect. You guys want to be successful in this business? There's two different things. It's a hard business, guys, but what we do makes it harder, and I promise you that. And that all has to do with discipline, and because it's such a mental game. I talk to you guys about this all the time, and I want to say this one more time to you guys. Listen, stop manufacturing trades. Stop trying to create something out of nothing and justify it and sell everybody else around you that it's a great trade or a great idea. Okay? Stick to your setups. 1 through 5 check marks. I'm taking that trade. Don't, well, maybe, blah, 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 blah. And next thing, let me just take a starter position, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you take a loss on it and you're like, oh, why did I even take that? It wasn't really my setup. Stop manufacturing trades, guys. This is a hard business, and it's a lot of discipline in it. I want to talk something that's really important. I don't know, there's some people that haven't been in our room lately, but I want to just emphasize something. I've traded every type of stock you can imagine. Okay, I don't know what it is, but I will say this: the small caps are not easy. Okay, I don't know why it is in the mind of everybody that small caps are easy because they see guys posting, $20,000 P&Ls and $10,000 P&Ls, and this is the easiest stuff in the world because they all go home and you can just short them and whatever. I can't tell you guys, and I'm speaking from experience, whether it was an account opener, whether it was a trader, whatever it was, and I know some of you veterans could say the exact same thing. How many superstars have you seen come and go within a couple years? Okay? And I'm not talking about guys that just had, 50 grand or 20 grand and, were flashy. I've seen guys lose hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and be done, completely done. I've seen the biggest traders on the street lose money and be done out of the business. Okay, guys? I'm telling you that there's no easy path. Small caps are not easy. Stop looking at Twitter and seeing like, oh yeah, I destroyed ABCD today. Listen, if you specialize in that, believe me, there's a plan. You always see Ricky, he specializes. I don't want to say specializes, but that's been, some of his bread and butter, over the years. And he does a lot of the fundamental stuff on it. He has a plan. But every time he has a plan, he's not getting squeezed from $2 to $7. Okay, add, and oh my God, what am I going to say to my wife? He doesn't put himself in that position. He's still trading the technicals. No, he does all the fundamental work to give himself conviction, but he's always waiting Always waiting on those breaks of those technical levels. He doesn't just add on the way up. And when he does, and he's too early, guess what he does? He takes it off for a small loss, and then he posts about, I was on the front side, made a mistake, should have never done that. But he identifies it right away. And I'm only using him because he's, first of all, he's one of the moderators. I like the way, he does these, the small names. But for some reason, we have in our minds these small caps are easier or not. And you guys need to put your time frames on things aside a little bit. I put a little joke, that your Lambo dream, put it aside for a few years. Listen, I'm not saying that you guys can't hit that and achieve it. But you need to become consistent and settle on, with your career and what you're going to be doing. I'm going to go into, following your path and your goals. I want you guys to, I'm going to go through this quickly. I'll try to speed up a little bit. I see the time that we've been going. But listen, you guys got to set your goals, and they have to be reasonable, and they have to match with what your long-term goals are. Listen, if you're trying to get to 100 grand a year, and 100 grand a year is making 10,000 a month, which means that you're making 500 bucks a day, then you shouldn't be taking trades trying to make 3,000 bucks a day. I don't care what you say. You're not going to convince me that that's the right way to do it. And you can't say, well, what's wrong with making three? Well, you shouldn't be taking that size of position. If you get dead lucky on a name and it happens, and so be it. But you shouldn't be intraday trading a stock that could make that. It doesn't make any sense. Make sure that your stuff is realistic and match your long-term goals. Stop listening to all the noise on social media and people around you. All that matters is you guys. Who cares about everybody else? Trust me, all that stuff doesn't matter. I wish to goodness I could get that through your guys' heads. That stop reading that just everybody else destroyed it on ABCD stock and I lost money. Man, I got to look at small caps tomorrow. I'm missing the whole boat on this thing. This is so easy. Come on, guys. Stop listening to that stuff. Come in with your same exact plan that you had, because you're here to make a living. You are trading your lifestyle. No one else is. Trade that way. And I'm telling you guys, you have to do that. And I want you guys to make sure that your goals and your path are matching up. They can't be, just like I said, they can't offset each other. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to tell you something else is most people start way too aggressive. If you think you could make 10 grand a month because you have experience, you come as a market maker or an ex-broker, or you got cash in the bank, lower it by 50%. And when you, for 6 months or a year, make that number that you lowered it to, then bump it up. And Titus has talked about this. Don't bump it up 100%. Bump it up 10 or 20%. You could always bump it up a couple months later. This is not a sprint, guys. This is the best career in the world. I believe that. I'm able to spend time with my kids, do what I want. I got the financial freedoms. But listen, it takes time. And it goes into, lastly, when it comes to your goals, Monaco's talked about this, is make sure you reward yourself, guys. I don't care if it's something as simple as a dinner. You had a great week. You busted your tail. You worked hard. You did all your scans. You hit 5 out of 6 days or 4 out of 5 days were all green, and your down day was break even or off a couple $100. Reward yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the month, you hit your goal or surpassed it a little bit. Reward yourself. I don't care what it is. It could be the smallest thing in the world. Go buy yourself a new set of sneakers. It doesn't matter, guys. But you're in this for a reason, to make a living, to be happy. Okay, find that happiness and be happy with what you're doing. It's the best job in the world. I absolutely love it. Listen, I know I'm kind of running a little bit longer, guys. The last thing I was going to talk about was my story a little bit. Do you guys want me to keep going for another 5-10 minutes or so, or everybody okay? I'm going to record this, so if you have to go, that's fine. As we're into 2 o'clock, I just all right, just give you a little bit more. I'm only telling you guys this because I want to tell you a couple of my experiences and how I think they can maybe help you guys, just that that these are real experiences of mine. And just to tell you a little bit about myself is, I was, and I'll go quick through some of the backstory is, I was, my brother was a National Honor Society guy, smart as hell. He's an attorney now, and I was the one that, always in the sports, struggled on learning, but I always knew I was fascinated by numbers. I had a ridiculous score on my SATs for math and all that. I was always a math guy. But I couldn't figure out college because I couldn't concentrate long enough, let's just say that. So Anyway, guys, so what I ended up doing is I went to the military, I went to the Air Force, and while I was in the Air Force, I started reading about the stock market. I knew I wanted to do it, and I was so driven that I told you guys, a couple of you guys this already. Is actually my uncle who used to I'm from the U.S., but my uncle was living in Calgary at the time, and he actually sent me the Canadian Series 7 book just because I want to start learning about the securities industry. And he sent it to me while I was in the military. I was over in England for a couple of years, and I came out of the military, and I said, "Oh my God, I can't wait to do this." Now I had a tough childhood, and I was angry, and my biggest thing going into it, and the reason I'm giving you this backstory a little bit is I pretty much said F the world. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show everybody. And a lot of people have that, their story. Everybody has a story, right? And mine was, F the world. I'm going to show you that I'm not, you guys say I wasn't the smartest. I couldn't make it in college. I'm going to make more money than my parents ever have. I'm going to have more money than them, and this is what I'm going to do. And came out of the military, moved down to Florida in 1992, right after Hurricane Andrew. I went up to my uncle. I said, "Can you get me a job at a brokerage firm?" And he looked at me and says, "Go sell some cars for a little bit." I said, "What?" And he says, "Yeah, go sell some cars. Show me you could be a salesman," because he knew at that time it was all sales, and stuff. So I went over and I sold cars for 6 months, and I ended up being one of the top sales guys over at the car dealership down in Sample Road, and came back up one day and I said, I'm ready. Can you get me in the door?" And sure as hell he got me in the door, and that's where my career started. And I wanted it so bad. Back in that day, I mean, I was making $200 a day for cold calling, and I was delivering Chinese food at night, and that was, the initial part of my story. And I had such a anger in me that I wanted to be better than everybody else I ever, came in touch with. I wanted to be the fastest account opener. I wanted to do everything the best, and I was driven. And those were funny times. Some of you guys can relate. I know you were in the business then. And it was a really odd, funny time at that time. And I became a broker, and I got my Series 7, and that was a story on its own I won't bore you with. But so I started off as a Series 7 broker, but I always, because of my personality, I always wanted to do the right thing. And those firms at the time, those little firms, they were little bucket shops, as we used to call them. So finally I went to a New York member firm at the time, and it was a real struggle because everybody was still blasting out these little small issues and so forth, and I was trying to figure it out, and I got an opportunity going to banking for a little bit. And my first part of the story really goes into is how one of the strangest things that ever happened to me in cutting down the nets, thinking I hit a home run and I made my millions, and to see it disappear, in a flash. And I was asked to become an officer and director in a public company while I was doing some banking. And it was back in, about, I don't know, it was probably late 90s, early 2000 or whatever. And I had gotten some stock in the company, and it was right towards the end of the dot-com era, and it was a dot-com company out of Georgia. And needless to say, I remember looking at my bank statement. I deposited my stock, and it said 12 million bucks on it. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I hit the home run. I'm rich. What can I do?" Thank God I didn't go borrow against it and do stupid things, because it was still restricted. But I felt like I was a success, and I let that success get to my head a little bit. Soon enough, after the restriction came off and all the dot-com stocks came crying down, I might have gotten a couple $100,000 out of the stock, out of the 12 million bucks. And I scratched my head at the end of it, and I said, "Well, how did that happen?" And part of how it happened was it came off restriction, and I just believed the people around me, got sold into, "Oh, trust me, everything's going to be okay." In the meantime, they're dumping their stock, and that was one of my biggest lessons in listening to other people, is I trusted and listened to these people that didn't give two rats' ass about me, and it cost me a lot of money. And I went into my second part of my career understanding that I think I got this down now. I'm going to I know I can't trust everybody. I know I'm smart enough to give it a go again and get a second shot. I have some money. Let me go back at it. And I got my 55 again and my 7 again, and started acting as a market maker. And along the way, I felt like I started making the same mistakes. I started trusting in people and believing that everybody else out there has my back, and I'm just a real trusting guy. Like, I always want to see the good in people. And I was taking hits, like on the desk over 6-figure hits, 100 grand here, 150 here, and I was scratching my head at the end, and I'm like, man, I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm trusting people, and these people, they didn't give two rats asses about me. They didn't care. They didn't care that I had a family and all this type of stuff. But the reality was these were all life's lessons. And I'm coming to a big point of this whole thing, okay, guys? And and I was scratching my head at the end, and we were, and just so you know, like we were pretty successful traders. We did really well. Um, I've had people ask, "What was your biggest win? What was your biggest win?" In one day, our biggest win, I think we traded a name. I'm not going to give you too much information, but we made just under a couple $1,000,000 in a day, which was pretty sweet. That was my biggest high. My biggest low was really over 100 grand. Nothing. I never had any 500, 700, $1 million losses besides the unrealized money that I lost in that one situation. Um, but what happened to me and the trust and I'm going to come back to the beginning of my story. I really, that second half of my life I was talking about, and this is what I want to emphasize to you guys and why I'm sharing this story, okay? And this is really near and dear to me, is since I was a kid, 14, 15 years old, I set goals. And I talked to you guys about this. And I would have done anything in the world to think that I could ever accomplish the goals. And I remember, the day, when I started really making crazy money, and we were making a lot of money as a desk. And when it all came to a screeching halt, when I walked away from being a market maker, and I had reasons which I'll share with you, but when I walked away, I realized, I got really emotional, and it hit me that all those goals that I've had my whole entire life, not just last 5 years, I want to be a millionaire, this and that type of thing, just my whole life were my lifetime goals. I never celebrated the accomplishment and achieving those goals. And to this day, it still bothers me. Like along the way, that what it was, if we made 4 million in a month or 5 million in a month or whatever it was, whatever, we want to make more money the next month, that type of thing. It was always, oh my God, we had a $300,000 trade. Oh, it should have been a 400,000. It never celebrated these times. And listen, guys, people refer to mental toughness in this business. I'm going to promise you guys something, okay? And I mean this from experience and from the bottom of my heart. Mental toughness, okay, isn't surviving a bad trade, okay? Mental toughness is real life obstacles. That's what mental toughness is. Watching my son for 13 months in the NICU, struggling to stay alive and almost losing him 4 to 5 times. That's mental toughness, guys. Okay, not I lost $700 on a bad trade. There's no mental toughness in that. That's just a bad trade. People that have survived, or their parents are lost, or they have an accident. That's mental toughness, because you get pushed so far beyond your limits. That's mental toughness. And I share these stories with you guys because I want you to understand that the grind that you're going through on a day-to-day basis is just part of the grind. You want to get better at it, get more disciplined. Okay? If you want to manage your losses because you can't afford it, size down. But don't start saying you got to be mental tough for this. That's bullshit, okay? I've walked that walk, okay, and know what that's like. This is nothing. I've made the money. I've lost the money. Why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I walked away was because I've realized I had all the money in the world that I could have spent, and I wasn't happy. I'm happy now because I'm with my family and my kids, and I can provide for them, okay? And that's what this whole thing is about, and I want you guys to understand. And which is why I did this webinar, and to welcome you guys into trading. That's what trading is, a vehicle to get you guys into happiness, okay? It's not going to come from you making $5,000 on the next trade, okay? It's going to be, making yourself genuinely happy as a person. And I share these losses and some of these experiences with you guys, and what I've been through and stuff. I've learned so much from other people. You guys want a secret? Is surround yourself with people that you can learn from and listen. I said this to you guys not too long ago. Listen, guys. Trust me with everything I tell you. Is there's guys, Titus is is probably my closest friend next to another guy I've been friends with for 13 years, okay? I love this guy. And I tell him everything. But what do we talk about? And what do we get emotional about? What do we cry together about? It's all personal stuff. It has nothing to do with trading. Trading isn't your life, guys. Trading provides you with a lifestyle. Okay, and the reason I share, a lot of you guys, I'm under the radar, and that's all because social media. I don't care what people, all this type of stuff. I like being under the radar for the most part. But I've made the money, I've lost money, I've had good days, I've had bad days in trading. Okay, I promise you, from the last 5 years of my life, there's nothing that was more experience than having my own children and the stuff that I went through with them and the mental toughness with that. And you're gonna have losses and all that kind of stuff, but trust me, guys, you know when you get frustrated and you get down and you figure, oh my God, how am I going to do this and all that, there are discipline adjustments. There's fundamental adjustments that you guys can make that will make everything easier and better and make you more profitable. Don't blame the other stuff, okay? And don't come up with these, justify it with crazy reasons and stuff like that. That's really where I've been, guys. And why do I do what I do every day? I can't tell you how much. I know because Titus talks to me about it, and we kind of joke about it, how much money this has cost over, our P&Ls and stuff like that. And I'll joke with other guys, when I see them about it, how hard it is sometimes. But I'll do anything to give back to my community. I just think that's the stage of the life I'm in. I want you guys to try to learn something, even if it's one thing you got out of this webinar, and it took me X amount of time to put it together. I don't care. I hope I impact just one person, because that's what it's about now. And I want you guys to feel the same way. If you could help somebody and spend a few minutes, if you know somebody's struggling, reach out. Be positive to people. Don't get pulled into the negativity online and all this kind of stuff. Like, oh, let's smash this guy and smash that guy, and that guy sucks, and this community sucks. Listen, most people, believe it or not, are trying to do good, but sometimes the way they know how to do good, it doesn't always work together. Okay, but there's always there's always a silver lining in some sort of intent, So just understand that it's not our battle; it's those people's battle. And I just I wanted to share a little bit more. I'm a pretty open book when it comes to that, but here I am. I'm so happy, financial gain to make. I mean, I've been good for quite a while, Nor. But I think when my wife, I had a breakdown with when my kids were born, in order to answer that question, because I already had the money, and I was more frustrated that I never celebrated making more money than my family's ever made, or having bigger net worths than my family ever had, and all that kind of stuff. And actually, I carried this burden of guilt because I would even think like that, and I still feel bad about it, and I've made my own type of amends for that mental thought process. But years back when I really understood, like, what am I doing? And it was when my son was literally fighting for his life. I mean, it was a very tough time, and that's why I walked away from the firm I was at that time, is because it was for health, and that I had more important things to focus on. And it's easy to keep going and going and going because the money was the easy part. So so anyway, guys, hit me up with any more questions. I know this was a really long webinar. Hopefully it was helpful to you guys. I know you guys are all here. Listen, I just want to take a second to thank the team too. Titus, I love him. He's not only do I think he's the best trader, but he's one of my best friends. And Monaco, just smart, great business mind. He's such a giving guy. I wish almost he'd come out of his superhero shell a little bit more, because he's such an incredible dude. And Ricky also, I mean, he's been such a great part of our family now. And I really appreciate all you guys that are here. I wish there was some way that we have such an incredible community, and I just encourage you guys to continue to spread the word. There's no perfect community, guys. It's perfect people that you hang out with, and we're all imperfect, but we could all teach different things to each other, and we've gotten such an incredible community now, and all that we're giving. I just want it to keep growing. So if you like what we're doing, spread the word. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, that's why Titus and myself, Monaco and Ricky, we're doing this, and it's affecting us financially because we want to give back to a bigger audience. Truth. There's nothing hidden there. So, if you guys, love us and, and want us to, see more, look at the people that we've added most recently even, and how much they're adding and going, wow, these, everybody's pretty cool in here. That's what it's about. And I think I really, really, I swear to you in my heart, believe that we're going to be a 10,000 person community, and we're going to have incredible, it's going to be a lot more automation. We're going to have a lot more moderators because we have so many people. And I think I see that growth in this because of the type of people and what the intent is. So just want to thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. I love all you guys. Hopefully you guys took something out of this. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but hopefully it was helpful. And I'm going to end it on that note. So thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful weekend. It will be recorded. It is recorded. I'll post the recording up if you guys want to watch it back and skim around it. And feel free to always hit me up with any questions that you might have. So thank you very much, guys.